Welcome back, YouTube. I know it's been long, I've been slacking, I've been mad busy with work, went on holiday for a week, loads of other stuff, but I'm back and I've got loads done. Not only is the engine possibly in for good, I hope so, I have ran it. I didn't want to lie and do a fake false start, all that kind of shit, so I have already ran it. I will put a clip in of it running. Obviously it's running a bit lumpy, it's not quite right because it's not set up properly. I've done as much as I can do, but when it comes to the EMU black and that, I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to setting stuff up. I can put like the injector stuff in and everything, and I managed to, it wouldn't run at all at first. So I've done enough to get it running, but it ain't running right. So I'm gonna get someone to do a base map. Before I do the base map, I wanna get the intercooler set up. That is the only thing left. Some of the major things I've done is obviously all the fuel systems done, which I'm going to cover today. That was probably like the key point of what I'm going to do today. But then there's loads of other little bits and bobs that I've done that I'll just take you through quickly. And then it's going to be, and then the next video will be my intercooler setup. I have decided I am going water to air intercooler. I have got most of the stuff, well 99% of the stuff, only waiting for like little bits of hose and stuff like that. I'm not going to show you any of this today because I want to make a separate video covering the whole water to air setup and how I'm doing it. So I'll just leave that for another day. There's no point going for it now. So yeah, without any further ado, we'll just go through, I'll just show you all the little bits and bobs I've done first, and then I'll go through the whole fuel system I've done, because I've done new lines front to back, surge tank in the boot, everything. So let me cover all the little bits, bring you up close, cover all the little bits, show you under here, and then we'll work our way to the back, and then that'll be for today's video. Next will be the water to air cooler, and then after that it's base map, and then we should start being able to run it on the road doing the braking procedure for the engine, and go from there. So yeah, let's get it. Right, I'll take you over this side of the engine just really quick there above the box. Obviously this is a boost part that we're making up. Obviously it's not ready yet, so just kind of ignore that. One thing I didn't really think about when I was building this is the fact that you have to do all custom coolant pipes. If you can see how I've done this one here, on the OEM setup you have like a hard pipe that goes across where the exhaust manifold is. Obviously you can't fit that anymore because you've took away like obviously the exhaust manifold, everything like that. So I've had to put this big hose over the top. I've P-clipped it, I've put some heat stuff around it. I hope it'll be all right above the manifold. Whether it will or not, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. As you can see, I put a massive air filter on there. I mean, I know it's not ideal. I would have liked a cold air intake so it wasn't right around the back where it's going to get hot air, but with doing the water to air setup, you'll see on my next video where I cover the water to air setup. But because it's sitting here, I can't really see any way that I can put an intake pipe in without having it highly restricted. Obviously the turbo inlet is 4-inch. With the water to air cooler going here, I could not get a 4-inch pipe there, so I'd have to step right down, and I feel like I'm going to have more negatives from having a restricted intake pipe than I would just running a big filter with slightly warmer air. Hopefully my water to air intercooler is enough to keep my intake temps down, but we'll see. So yeah, that's that. Obviously we've got a 90 off the turbo already. I've got my coolant returns and done all the lines for the turbo. This is a coolant feed for the turbo, coolant return. Here this is the map sensor, because with the plug and play ECU master you don't get, it's not got an inbuilt map, it comes with separate, which is basically if you do anything with diesel cars, this is like a DPF pressure sensor basically, but that's want to be the map sensor. So that's all hooked up, it's all wired up. I've wired the exhaust gas temperature sensor up. So yeah, most of it's ready to go. Ignore this, basically there's going to be a front mounted oil cooler for the gearbox. For now, just for running it and stuff, I've basically just got this bit of hose. I already had this hose, I've just joined it on to loop it. I haven't done the engine oil cooler setup either. That's something that I'll just do later. I can do all the braking period without worrying about that because it's not going to get too hot anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it over this side. So we'll switch over the other side now, and I'll start covering the fuel setup from this side. Right, here we are at the front. Some of this stuff you would have already seen. We've got the CTS fuel rail here. We've got the return is AN6, the feed is AN8. You can't really see the feed, but the feed is here. So you've got 180 comes off, goes to the Turbo Smart fuel pressure regulator. It's currently set at 3 bar, but we'll mess around with that as and when we need to. Obviously the feed comes from front to back. It comes from the surge tank in the back. This is an A&A. I've got all the high flow fittings to make sure we're not restricted or anything. Obviously we've got the Nuke Performance gauge here. Both the lines run down through the chassis rail, exactly where the OEM ones come up basically. So I've just ran them down, run them through. They come out underneath the car and then go up. I'll show you that in a minute. The underneath isn't finished, but I'll show you it anyway. I just need to tidy it up a little bit. Obviously the coolant's pretty much filled up. I don't seem to have any leaks so far. I've I had to build all my return myself. So you got the turbo return, the return from the heater. I had to make up a lot of coolant hoses, but got there in the end. All the cooling systems all done now. Some of the wastegates plumbed in as well. I've just got to wait for more because I've got to get the other vacuum source because we're going to put it in the boost pipe. But yeah, that's pretty much it over here. We'll go underneath. I'll show you why I've ran it underneath, or even though it's not finished, we'll show you anyway. And then I'll show you the setup that I'm running in the back with the surge tank, and then that'll be pretty much it for today. So yeah, let's get underneath the car and work our way back. What I'll do is, as I work way back to the fuel lines, I'll just show you what we're working with underneath here. So this is what it's looking like from underneath at the minute. Obviously you can see the oil filter housing that's been capped off at the minute, but that will have lines that run to an oil cooler. Yeah, so obviously I did all heat shields and stuff. I have got to redo the oil drain. What I'll do is I'll show you quickly. As you can see, it's just too close. It's going to rub on the CV gator. I mean, the suspension is hanging at the minute, so the CV, the shaft will go up a little bit, but it's still going to catch. I'm going to have to redo it at some point. Try and show you around here. Obviously, it's a downpipe. The oxygen sensor up there. If you look down at the bottom, that's where the exhaust gas temperature sensor is. I mean, ideally the EGT sensor wants to be in the manifold, but I just couldn't really see anywhere to drill it, and I just didn't want to fucking risk it or whatever. So let's work our way back. So obviously this is where the OEM ones come from. They come out of here. Like I said, it's not finished. I need to tie them up to the floor better, because obviously there it don't look very good, but it comes down. This is the breather I've put in. It's not a one-way valve, but it's like a check valve. So if the car was to flip over, it stops all the fuel coming out. But yeah, that's where that's the OEM breather connection just there. And then I've made up this quick connector with the hose on going up to that little breather. So that's a little tank breather. As you can see, the lines go, that's where this little plastic hook bit here, that's where the OEM fuel filter used to be, which obviously I haven't got no more. And then it just goes up the side of the tank, and then we'll have to switch around. Let me just show you from this side as well. Obviously that's where the downpipe is. I haven't got the rest of the exhaust on. This is a little heat shield I made up, and you can just see like the turbo, all the setup from there, some coolant lines, the oil drain, etc. So yeah, now I'll take you into the back of the car, and you can see the surge tank. Right, so here's the surge tank setup. What we've got here then, we've got the Nuke Performance surge tank. There's a Walbro 450 inside. I've just got one pump in at the minute because I'm not really going to need two for my initial power goals. But this does hold 2 pumps internally. So all I'd have to do is take the lid off, put one more power to it, and you're ready to go with 2 pumps. Still, when you have 2 pumps, it still only has one outlet. It basically joins internally. So what we've got here, I don't know which one's which, it doesn't really matter because these are just 3 open sockets, but you've basically got feed from the tank, return to the tank, and then return from the engine, feed to the engine. So the in-tank pump, I've got a Cytec upgraded one that I put in when I first got the car. So basically that'll be just feeding this tank, and then it'll return to the tank. So the proper OEM tank underneath the car, that just does a constant cycle between the surge tank and going back. And then you've got the return back from the engine. Obviously feed to the engine goes down. This is an inline fuel filter, then it goes down and through the floor. This is a false floor that I bought. There's another bit further forward, I'll show you that in a minute. These, where I put it through to try and keep it neat, these are just for like a PC table where you put the wires through. So we've got one here where these lines go through, and then there's another one here where the line goes through. So basically the feed line that goes to the engine and the return one, all they do is run through where the OEM hatch would be, underneath the seat basically. Now it's underneath the false floor, but it would have been underneath the seat. So the normal hatch, so it just basically goes down there, and obviously the feed and return from the tank, they come from there as well. So that little hatch, the lid's off it. The feed and return from the tank come up through there, and then the gap down the side where you seen the pipes come up, they come through that hatch and then through here. So all the pipes and all the wiring's hid underneath the floor. Obviously the wire's hid around the back, and then again it goes under the floor. The wiring goes to a MSD relay kit, so it's all like it's not got a fuse. I was actually a bit skeptical about using it, but I just used it anyway because I feel like MSD know what they're doing. It's basically got like an electronic circuit breaker instead of having a fuse, and then it's got the relay. What I did was I did nick the signal wire from the OEM pump. Now, some of you might be thinking that's a bit of a shit thing to do, but it is only a signal wire to basically excite the relay, and then the relay is taking direct 12 volts from the battery. So you're not really putting any strain on it. Plus, the other thing is, the in-tank pump is no longer going to be drawing the current that it would normally draw, because usually the pump, when it's free flowing, it doesn't draw a lot, but then when it makes pressure, it does. So when you've got like, obviously on this one, on the Mark 5, the fuel pressure regulator is in the fuel filter. I'm not too sure whether it's 2.5 bar or 3 bar, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But it wouldn't start drawing the most current until it's making pressure. Now, it shouldn't really make any pressure anymore because it's free flowing. Because it flows into here and then comes back out, there's no valve or anything, so there's nothing really restricting. So the only pressure it should be making is a restriction of having to push it through the lines and going back, which should be pretty much nothing. So the in-tank pump should not really be drawing anything anymore because it's allowed to free flow rather than having to make pressure. So with that and the fact that it is only a signal wire, that's what I've done, and so far it's worked fine. It just means the good thing is now when you put the ignition on, or on like these, when you open the door, it primes the fuel system. So now when I open the door, whether you put the ignition on, whatever you do, when the tank, the in-tank pump and this pump will both do it at the same time. Basically they'll both prime together. When you turn the ignition on, you hear both pumps prime together, so it just means the work in sync. So at any time that one's running, this one's running, they both run at the same time because they're both coming from the same signal. Basically just works out easier. On the Mark 5 it's super easy because you've got the battery is in the boot floor. If you know what Mark 5s are like, they've got a tin cover in the back, and then they come off to a little junction box, so it makes it super easy to set up your relay and stuff. It would have been nice to show you guys, but to be honest I just really can't be able to lift this floor up because I'd have to move loads of stuff. It's a bit of a pain in the arse, but it's well easy to do. You've got basically a junction box where you've got direct 12 volts off the battery, or 14 volts if it's running, and then just run a signal wire down to your OEM wire, and that's it really. So let me just pull it round. So obviously you can see, to show you from the top, obviously positive, negative, that's the other positive. If you want to run another pump, you just share the same earth if that's what you want to do. It just kind of goes around the back and disappears under the floor. That they go around through there, that goes through there. As you can see, that's the rest of the floor there, so everything's underneath. Yeah, basically everything goes through the hatch down there, and then the wiring and stuff's under here because the battery's here. There's a little junction box, it's probably about here. There's a junction box, you can like open it up and it's literally got direct battery voltage. So that's where I took the direct feed for the relay, and then just ran the signal wire down to where the OEM plug would be on the in-tank pump, and then they just run further and back. So yeah, you've just got feed and return from the tank. They basically run across there, round, down, through here and up. There's like a channel in the foam underneath. I cut a channel. There's like foam underneath here that holds everything up, so I cut a channel out so they just go through, down and through the channel. And then the one from the tank, the one from the engine and back to the engine, basically again run the same place through the hatch, down the side of the tank, and run to the car. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that setup in the back. Right, so that's it. I showed you the fuel system. I've covered all the little bits and bobs. There's probably loads of things I've missed. There's little stuff I've done with coolant pipes and stuff because I had to remake all that. But I can't really cover it without having to strip it all back out and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've been slacking a little bit, but it's just been busy. The main priority is I just want to get this car on the road. I'm just trying to show as much as I can on YouTube, but sometimes it's just too long pulling the camera out when you're doing bits here and there. But yeah, I've covered the majority of it. If there's any questions any of you guys, just get at me on Instagram. A few of you already have shouted me on Instagram. If you need any help with anything or wondering how I've done this, done that, just give me a shout. I'm always happy to help. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The next video, like I've already said, will be the intercooler setup. Hopefully that will be in the next couple of weeks. I'm just waiting on little bits and bobs. I do want to coat a couple of sort of things as well, get them more powder coated to match everything else going on. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to put the video of it running in now. Obviously, bear in mind it is a little bit lumpy and stuff, but it's just to show you it running basically. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Enjoy the video of it running, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.